So you want to buy a plane for less than $100,000. Interesting. $100,000 gives you a lot of options. Just like my best planes under $50,000 video, we'll do cross-country, backcountry, and just for fun weekend flyers. Cross-country is by far the biggest group, and we'll start there. No. Yes, under $50,000 video. Had a few cross-country planes that you could buy for less than $50,000, but I didn't recommend because examples at that price were generally fairly run down. But at $100,000, you get much nicer ones. $100K will buy an average or better Viking. It'll buy a very nice Long Easy. But for $100,000, neither would be my first pick. Long Easy doesn't have that much room or weight capacity, and I'd rather avoid the retracts of the Viking. Remember, buying is just step one. You gotta keep it flying. Finally, $100,000 for a 35 Bonanza still isn't really enough in my opinion. You're still looking at fixer-uppers in that range, or at least really old panels. Cessna 182, 210, Piper Cherokee 6, same story. They can all be had at this price point, but for me, more trouble than they're worth. Next, twins. Basically, any twin can be found for under $100,000, like anyone. Arguably, any twin under $100,000 is going to give you problems that you don't want. So what is a good pick? Well, let's start with the two-seaters. Right off the bat, vans. The RV4, 6, and 8 regularly turn up at less than $100,000, and the 7 and 9 sometimes make an appearance as well. Lower cost vans usually means old avionics and sometimes old paint. To a lesser extent, it may mean a run-out engine or a damage history. Avionics and paint wouldn't affect my decision to buy a vans or not, and for damage it really depends on what it was and how long ago. A run-out engine may deter me though, just because I'd rather reduce the likelihood of an overhaul, and vans almost always have nice standard Lycoming engines. Other 2C contenders, Glass Air 1 and 2, and the small engine Lancers. They're all a bit faster and smaller and lighter than vans. A bit too small for a solid cross-country plane, in my opinion, but damn fast. So then, 4C cross-country planes under 100K. We've got Grumman Tiger, though I never really liked the look of it. Not for me, to be honest. Piper Arrow 1 and 2, pretty solid, but at this budget, again, I'd avoid the retracts. And they actually are a little on the slow side at about 130 knots. The Canards. So, Cozy Mark III, Mark IV is more expensive, Velocity, and of course Long Easy, which we've mentioned. I'll rule out the Mark III Cozy right away. It's just too small. Velocity is a super cool plane. It is fast and roomy and awesome. The only issue I have with Velocity is the vast range in builds. Builders have a lot of input into the final product, and two completed Velocity aircraft can be very different from each other. And for some reason, many Velocities come with untraditional engines. I think I would have to be very well acquainted with an owner and their Velocity to actually consider buying it. And for a Velocity to really get me interested, it would probably end up costing more than $100,000. Also, flying Canards is a world all on its own. I have no issues with that. In fact, I think it's pretty cool. It's just I'm not involved with Canards really, and it just puts Velocity that much further out of reach. Cool plane though. For God's sakes, when's he going to talk about Moonies? Now, Mooney's a great cross-country plane. For less than $100,000? Definitely. You can find right up to the M20K under $100,000, with the possible exception of M20J. But if I was in the Mooney market at this price, I'd try to keep it pre-1969. That's where the manual retracts ended, which are more simple to maintain. I believe the M20C to be the sweet spot in this era. I've said it before, the M20C could be the most efficient certified general aviation airplane, and if it's not, it's close. Up to the M20E are the short body Moonies, and up to the K are the medium body Moonies. Small though. Whenever I talk about Moonies, there's always comments that say, Moonies aren't small. They are. They totally are. Well, it's the same size as whatever plane. Well, whatever plane is probably small too, especially when you consider the size of our last plane on our cross-country list. Now, Bonanza is a dynamite cross-country plane, but they're expensive. You're not going to get much of a Bonanza for $100,000, sadly, but you can get a Beech Debonair. Debonair, remind me what that is again? Exactly. It's definitely a lesser-known Beech. Post-World War II, piston retract market was dominated by Bonanza. By the late 50s, though, competitors had emerged, specifically Piper Comanche 250. Now, Bonanzas of the day were twice the plane that the Comanche was, but they were also twice the price-ish. So to compete with the Comanche and the various Cessnas, Beech made a scaled-down Bonanza, smaller engine, conventional tail, and a bit of a stripped-down interior, sort of a zero-calorie Bonanza. Over time, of course, it got dialed up and spruced up, and 8 years after it was introduced as the Beech 33 Debonair, it simply became the 33 Bonanza. The fast, comfortable, sturdy, reliable Beech Debonair is my pick for best cross-country plane under $100,000. So, a retract? Yes, but it's worth it. Okay, what else we got? Backcountry, right. Just like most cars are designed to travel on the road, most planes are designed to land at at an airport. What's more, we don't have a lot to choose from the 60s, 70s, and 80s when most of the current general aviation fleet was produced. We do have a few that fit between 50 and 100, but not many. So what do we have? Well, smaller mulls, like the 180. Definitely looks the part. It has a great useful load at nearly 1,000 pounds, and a nice cruise speed, but useful load and cruise speed doesn't get you in and out of tight remote spaces. Even when flying light, you're looking at greater than 500 feet takeoff distance. Kitfox 4 can be found in this region. The Kitfox and Just Aircraft Highlanders that you see on YouTube usually are more powerful and have other mods that boost their performance. The older, more stock Kitfox 4s are a little more calm and take off and land a little longer. There's other small planes that have similar performance and cost to a factory-spec Kitfox 4, such as the Bushcat, Bearhawk LSA, and others, but they aren't the top pick for me in this category. Neither is the Wilga P2L 10480, which can be found for under $100,000. The best bush plane that you can get for under $100,000, in my opinion, is the Zenith Stoll CH750. Wait, wasn't that the best bush plane under $50K? No, that was the Zenith Stoll CH701. The 750 is more roomy and more modern and, well, more expensive. And the Stoll performance is just wild. Taking off in 100 feet with 100 horsepower is very impressive. Of course, it flies very slow. The useful load is pretty modest, and she's no prom queen, but for a $100,000 Stoll plane, it can't be beat. Finally, the Just for Fun Weekenders. So subjective. But like everything on this channel, here's my opinion. You have a few avenues you can go down. First, gyroplanes. Gyros are fun because they're just so weird. For the most part, they have no doors or roofs, which is fun. It's like a helicopter meets a canoe. Gyros are cool, and many are fairly inexpensive. Also, like I mentioned in my 50K video, all sorts of open cockpit planes can be had in this price range, and I just love them. Some warbirds start to become available as well. The Yak 52 and the Nangchang CJ6 trade hands under $100,000 regularly. Definite attention grabbers. Personally, for a just for fun airplane for $100,000, it's going to be an amphib. And there are a couple of options. The Lake Buccaneer and the Republic CB qualify, both a bit more involved ownership-wise, and you won't get the nicest ones for $100K. But really, the same fun can be had in a simpler package. My pick for the under $100K just for fun airplane is the Sea Ray. Flying around with your friend, dropping in on tiny grass strips, lakes, rivers, and beaches, while burning about as much fuel as a lawnmower, sounds like a great way to spend the afternoon. C-Max is a good pick as well, but Sea Ray can fly with the canopy open and your elbow hanging out, and that is more fun. Sea Ray for the win. Best planes under $100,000. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.